Yeah, good morning everybody. Welcome back to the channel. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do today, I'm going around, gonna scrape a few driveways. We got a few driveways over the winter. They need a little maintenance. They get where we need a little maintenance, and since I'm going to be going to just about every farm where there's buildings, I thought today would be a good day to do a machinery video, and that's what we're going to try to do today. Yeah, before we get going too far on this equipment tour, I thought what I would do is, since maybe some of you don't know exactly what we do, I would give you a brief summary on how we have our farms organized. As you know, or maybe you don't know, I farm with and run the plant too with two sons, Craig and Jared, and they do 99.8% of the work at the plant. I used to do a little bit there, but I don't anymore. Since COVID come along, I'm out. I'm banished from there because I don't want to get sick, and I have as you can tell the way I huff and puff, I have a bit of a lung issue. Anyway, so how we farm is the three of us, we each own approximately the same amount of land. We farm it as if it's one farm. In the spring when we plant, we go to the driest field and we start there, and we just start planting corn and beans or whatever, and it doesn't matter whose farm we're on. We treat it all as if it was our own. And usually what happens, I usually work the ground up. Jared does all the spraying, which is really a full-time job, and we'll get to the sprayer after. And Craig does all the planting, and that kind of works out well. We all have our own jobs, and we all know what has to be done, and we help each other out. What the heck, you know. And what we do, we kind of group buy everything. We'll buy all our seed corn in one group, and we'll buy all our chemicals together. And then Jared has the task at the end of figuring out how much everybody used on their land, and we just kind of average it. You got to give and take, because it would be a nightmare to keep track of who used 8 bags of corn and who used 8.5 and so on. So we just say, okay, this is what you owe, and tough titty if you paid for an extra bag of corn or got a little bit of Roundup that the other guy paid for or whatever. So it's what we have to do. Anyway, we'll start. I'm in it's a barn that we built for cattle and machinery, and we use it it's just a general purpose building here. But anyway, I'll start here. This is our main combine. It's a S660. It's approximately 6 years old. I just brought it back, actually, the day before yesterday. We got it ASI'd, which we think's a good idea. And they kind of go over it for us and change a few belts and just check it all over and make sure it's ready to go, because when we're ready, we're ready. We don't want to mess around. Anyway, this combine works real well. We have a 35-foot draper head, which I won't get in this video because it's in a shed that's that we kind of rent and or whatever, and I don't have the key, so we don't need it till wheat time, so there it'll sit. So that's the combine. And we have a set of John Deere discs. They're, I believe, 23 feet and change, and 23.7. This set we don't use very much. We'll use it for disking down. If last year we used it, they cleaned out a couple of ditches, and we use it for leveling ditch banks, and if we usually tile every year, and we use it for leveling tile drains and that kind of thing. And a disc is something on the farm you gotta have. On the kind of ground we work, this clay soil, you do not want to use disc in the spring. It's kind of a fall tool, and you can tell by the rust that we don't use it much. We have this dump cart. I don't know, before we had this dump cart, it's made out of an old dump truck. We bought it and we use it for hauling gravel or dirt or manure. It's just a handy thing to have, and we just hook on it so many times, and it's good for hauling concrete. Like, basically you can't hurt the thing. So anyway, it's rough and tough. I'm up here in it's one of the cattle barns, and we have this TMR, which it's a jailer, which we're not using right now. We're out of cattle, and that's another story. And we have this Massey Mixall. We just use it for grinding corn for the cattle. We like to crack it so that they get all the nutrients out of the corn. It just, we feel it's worthwhile. We have a couple of these bale wagons we use for hauling round bales and hay and anything that we need a flat wagon for. They're handy to have. The other day we used them for hauling some tanks. And in here we have, I guess it's our main fall tillage tool. It's a Case 870 ripper, and man, does this thing take horsepower. We have our main tractor, which you'll see, it's 375 horsepower, and this keeps it busy. It's called a Eco Tiger ripper. It has discs and teeth, and then leveling discs, and then these real heavy rolling hairs on the back. They really work good. Leaves the ground real level. We find you hit it with this in the fall and a light cultivating in the spring, and it's ready to plant. We sometimes will hit it in the fall with the cultivator to level it up so it's not so rough for Jared to spray in the spring. This is our 4240. I bought this used privately. We bought it to load railroad cars, and the railroad track got closed for one reason or another, and then I put it on the TMR, and now I've got it on this. This is something we just acquired. It's a grader, 960 grader. I think it's 960 because it's 96 inches, 8 foot. And I'm just kind of playing with that today. This New Holland disc bind, 1431. We use it for cutting hay. We acquired it last year. Found it on Kijiji. And I've never actually run this unit. I'm told it works really good. This is a 5420 with a loader. We've had it for a few years. We bought it, it had about 300 hours, maybe 4. And I use it out here feeding cattle, and And we use it for just about anything a little tractor could be used for. Yeah. We also have this red tractor. It's, I believe, a 85C with a loader. We bought it to mix feed with. We have an old guy makes the feed for the cattle, and he was working outside in the cold, and the boys felt sorry for him, and so we ended up with this tractor. We also have a couple of nurse tanks for nursing the sprayer, and we're getting ready to put 28 on. And we'll go around here and see what's in the shed. We have a tender here. It's a 16-ton tender for dry fertilizer. We use that to charge up our drill that we'll see later. We have a 20-foot sunflower drill with a case coulter cart on the front. This works real good for no-till and wheat. We haven't decided what we're going to do with this thing. We may dispose of it. I don't know. Didn't use it last year. Only we planted a few beans with it one day. And we have another water tank that we keep our chemicals on, and to nurse our sprayer with, keep it full of water. That's about it for out here. Okay, I'm up here at the plant. I had to wait till after 5 o'clock because, as I mentioned before, I'm banished because of the COVID-19. So I don't come here anymore. Not when anybody's around. So I'll continue with this equipment video. This 8260R, we bought this, it's about 3 years ago. It's mainly we bought it to pull our planter, and we use it for a lot of jobs. We used to have it on the disc gripper. This thing actually has 320 horse, so it pulls the planter really good. This is, I think this is 2 years old. This is a Salford, and if you're in Minnesota, it would be a digger. Here we call this a cultivator. It's 40 foot. We got the duck teeth on her, and a couple of rolling hairs, and these here teeth level things off. We don't pull this with the 8260 because it would be on the planter. We pull that with our 9320, and it's over here. This machinery's kind of spread all out. We've brought everything here to the plant to change the oil and do a little service on everything. Okay, we've got a New Holland manure spreader, and use that for the cattle business mostly. We've got it hooked on a 7810. We have a couple of these. This is one of the later 7810s. Not sure. I think it's got about 4,500 hours. This is another cultivator. It's 32 foot. This would be the one that we would put ahead of that packer if we use the packer. It's about, I think we've had it about 4 years. We just brought it up here to the plant to have it gone over for the spring. It needed a few teeth, and there's always something. And we've got it hooked on to 8400. This is a tractor that we bought at auction. I wasn't even at the auction. At the time it had about 1,100 hours on it. I think it's got over 2,000 on it now. This used to be our primary tractor for tillage, and we would use that 32-foot cultivator. Now it's kind of a spare, and it's kind of been semi-retired, I guess you might say. This is our, I guess you'd call this a big horse. It's a 9320. We've had it about 2 years. Took an injector out of it last year, but other than that, it's been no problem. We use it to pull that ripper that I showed you earlier, and we hook it on the 40-foot cultivator to do tillage. Right now it's hooked on to our sunflower air seeder, and we got it out. We had to do a little bit of maintenance to it. We bought this last year just in time to plant wheat. It has 2 compartments. One we put fertilizer in, one we put seed in. And it took a little work to get it going. We ended up putting new hoses on it, and it's a sunflower. We took the sunflower system all off of it and put flexi coil towers on it to distribute the seed, and they work really good. And what we did this spring, we brought it in here to the shop. That's why it's here. And we put these John Deere weights on the wings. We felt that the wings weren't quite heavy enough for planting wheat, so the center went in real good, the wings didn't. So we had extra weights kicking around, and those front brackets off the front of a couple of tractors that we weren't using anymore, so we had Frank mount them up and put them on the wings. This thing, it unfolds, and it's 40 feet. It'll really plant wheat. And while I'm here, this is now for the guys in Minnesota, this is a digger. This is a backhoe. I think it's about it's a 50L. I think it's early 2000s, and we use it for all kinds of jobs on the farm. You wouldn't believe how many times we use that. It's made a shovel almost obsolete. And we have another dump wagon. Right now it's loaded with scrap steel, but we haul manure and dirt and silage and anything. It's got sides that go on it for silage. Has a both dump carts have hydraulic tailgates that you control from the cab. This is an old 1830. This is one of the early 1830s, and we bought this just to use here in the yard at the plant. We ended up putting a loader on it off of a tractor that burnt. We had a 2120 that burnt, and we put that loader off the 2120 on there. This is our other 7810. It's one of the earlier ones, and we put new rubber on it last year. It's probably approaching somewhere around 6,500 hours, I think. We really don't take this one to the field much. We use it hauling wagons on the road and hauling manure and grain vacuuming and a lot of jobs. It gets about 300 hours a year doing different things. One thing we do, we have a blade that goes on the front of it for pushing snow around the plant in the winter time. And we have this is a 7510. It's got over 6,000 hours, and with a loader, we bought it brand new with a loader. It's had a rough life. Bucked a lot of beans, bucked dirt. I think that's about the 3rd blade on that bucket. We just keep fixing it, and we've put front tires on it, but it looks like it needs them again. It's kind of used hauling wagons and clean up around wherever. And then our sprayer sitting over here. I'll get a quick look at it. I think this is about a 2013 Rogator. It has a 1,000-gallon tank, I believe. It's a 100-foot boom. And we have 2 sets of tires for it. We've got the bigger tires on it now, getting ready to put 28 on the wheat. And that's kind of Jared's machine. He looks after that. Yeah, I showed you that other 5420 earlier. This is the one that's primarily at the plant. This is the one we had to put a parking pry in it this winter. It had gotten sheared off somehow. But we use it around the plant just for every little job that comes along. Running augers or wagons and whatnot. There's pushing snow, lots of little jobs. Yeah, so this is the next day. I was just gonna finish this equipment video and so I can send it off. I'm out here at Jared's home farm where he lives. This is our corn head. It's an old 893. Has what we did on this corn head, we put comber rolls on it for they shred the corn stalks. It's not as good as a chopping head, but hey, it's second best and a lot cheaper, and it seems to do a good job. We use that and then hit it with that Eco-Till. Works pretty good. This has a hydraulic adjustable stripper plates too. This is our old stalk cutter or grass cutter. We just use it now for cutting weeds, and we used to use it to cut corn stalks, but since we put the comber rolls on, we don't use it. We have this Unverfirth 6225 Grain Buggy. This is kind of Cameron's piece of tool. It is our buggy for chasing the combine. We usually only use it in wheat and corn, and last year we didn't have any wheat, so it didn't get used then. We just used it last year in the corn, but we'll use it this year in wheat and corn. And we have a John Deere round baler. We use that for the cattle, I guess, and grow a little bit of hay. We've got this little rake for raking a little bit of hay. And that's about it for in this building. Okay, I'm out at my farm, my home place. I see that I got a letter falling off my name. I'll have to get that fixed. Huh. That's going down. It must be sick. Anyway, this is our 9510 combine. We've had this for a number of years. We kind of run 2 combines. We grow all non-GMO beans, and we find 2 combines work well. We use one kind of open up the fields ahead of the other one. This one has just a 25-foot head, and we can kind of go from farm to farm with it and open up the headlands. And the 660 has a 35-foot draper, so we have to take it off. This one we can kind of go farm to farm once we get north of town. It works quite well. It's a conventional combine, not a rotary. One of the last conventionals that they made. I think they made one series after this, a 9550, and it was both conventional and rotary. I bought that at auction, and it's fellow that had it before me was a real good caretaker and really looked after it. It's really been good. We used to do corn with it. We don't anymore. We only use it for soybeans and wheat. And as you know, wheat takes a long time to harvest. This is our planter. It's a this is the front. It has pusher rows, so it has I believe there's 16 pusher rows, and it does 16 rows of corn. It's air, central fill. We have liquid fertilizer for the corn rows. We haven't got it out yet. It's almost time, but I believe this thing is, we serviced it before we put it away, and it's already switched to corn. So it's just a matter of getting it out and maybe squirting a little oil here and there and trying to make sure everything works. But when we put it away, we did all the maintenance that we could see anyway that it needed, so it shouldn't need too much. We usually just get it out about 10 days before we're ready to plant corn, and then because we're limited where we can put this thing inside. It takes up a lot of room. It's 40 feet wide, and it swings on a post. And if you've never seen one of these, it pivots. Real simple design. Pivots with a hydraulic cylinder on this post, and it just lifts up the post and the whole machine turns. It's unbelievable. They were up all night thinking about that's for sure. This is the last tractor well, second last. I didn't show you the A. We do have an A, John Deere A, that I had for the tractor parade, and I guess I didn't show you that one. It's kind of tucked away in a shed. We don't use it much. Actually, we don't use it at all. This is the other 1830 that we have. I use it primarily to mix feed, and it's been mixing feed for the last year, and we haven't cleaned it up yet. And I headed out here cleaning out the donkey pens. It's the only tractor we have that'll go in the donkey pen. And that's about it for machinery. I just wanted to make sure everybody stays safe, keeps your distance from everybody else. I know this is the beginning of the 4th week for me. I'm trying to stay isolated as much as I can. And if anybody asks you about here's our snowblower. This is a piece of machinery I've had a couple years, never used it yet. Hasn't snowed enough here. Someday. We have that blade, so I don't use it that much. Anyway, if anybody says, asks any questions about our machinery, you can answer them. Oh yeah, I know all about their machinery because I have been there. Catch you later.